Now, real people, real opinions. Nighttime talk with Niall Boylan.
Ireland's classic hits radio.
Okay, I can do this. Tróna má, agus conas atá tú. Is mission Niall Boylan. There you go, AJ. You didn't think I could do it, did you? By the way, we are going to be talking right now to Mollie Guidera, the creator of Irish with Mollie, and she's revolutionised the way people learn Irish. With over 180,000 Instagram followers, she has made the language more accessible and enjoyable by focusing on the fun, interactive lessons. And Mollie believes you can learn Irish in just 5 minutes a day. Not just 5 minutes, but 5 minutes a day. And she's here to share her passion for keeping the language alive. So let's get to know more about her journey and her unique approach to teaching Irish. And she joins me on the line. Mollie, hi, how are you?
Hi, Agus Mahu. Fair play to you. That was a
feeble attempt. Can I just say? Mollie,
I'm impressed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. And like every other person of my age, probably, I'm embarrassed. I'm humiliated that I don't speak my own language. And I look back at the way we were taught of it was bet into us with peg sayers and all that kind of nonsense. And I remember talking to a professor of English, and he was telling me once, he said, look at the Irish language. He said, you spend like from the age of 4 to 18 learning it, and you come out of school knowing very little. Why?
Keshtua. Good question. Keshtua. I mean, this is the thing. People feel that Irish was bet into us. And to be fair, the curriculum and the whole school system is treating it like an exam subject and not a living language. You know, this trauma that people have and this noida, like you mentioned, noida is embarrassment. It's time to turn that noida into goida. Goida is laughter. Because there's so many unique features of the language that are really mind-blowing. It's such a special, ancient, indigenous language that is replete with things like, no word for yes or no. Only 11 irregular verbs, only 18 letters in the alphabet, no verb to have.
I didn't know that, by the way, that there's only 18 letters in the Irish alphabet.
Yeah, I mean, we have incorporated things like J and K and W or V now, but yeah, in the original alphabet, going back to one of the oldest literatures in Western Europe and one of the oldest alphabets like Ogham, carved in dashes and dots on trees. It's such a mesmerizing history, and it's shocking that we've kind of been,
Is it too late? But I was talking to Martin before the break. I don't know whether you were listening to the conversation we had before the break about the Irish road signs, right? And they, and Melissa and Martin and John and a few others are saying it's not too late to change. Irish could be our first language again, just like, French, German, Spanish. And I said, do not think that ship has sailed. Is it too late?
It's definitely not too late. And I know, in this conversation about the road signs, you read things like only 3/4 of the people, 3/4 have no Irish in that stretch of the Folds Road, etc. And it's like, is that relevant? Do you think that's their fault or their desire? It's something that was instilled in us. The whole thing has been punitive and counterintuitive. Like, I was kicked out of the Gaeltacht when I was a teenager for speaking 8 words of English in one sentence. And I never really rooted myself in the language or connected with it properly until I had taught English for many years and realised I could apply these skills to teaching Irish. I think the system of teaching has not been conducive to learning, let's say. Yeah. And there's so many other skills that we can apply. It's all about recall and usage. And it's about reducing that shame and unshackling ourselves from a deeply colonised mindset. I see it like every single day. People are saying things like, oh, it's pointless, it's useless. But I mean, where does that come from? Why do you think to denigrate your own culture? Because language is culture.
See, I suppose it's because we're such a small little country. Mind you, I got to argue the same thing about Wales, and they managed to hang on to their language. But we're a small little country, and everything that we consume, be it television, radio, everything is in English, with the exception of Radio na Gaeltacht or CG Cahar. Everything is in English. So everything we're consuming, books, podcasts, everything generally. Now, I know if you look, you can find some of the podcasts, Ask Gaeilge, but everything generally that we consume that's popular is in English, in the English language, either American or British. So, I mean, that's because we're a small country and we don't produce very much in that line of things in media. So everything we're consuming is in English, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, when you think of the literature that Ireland has produced and it's world famous, it is so embedded in the Irish language. And even this quote from Seamus Heaney, not to learn Irish is to miss the opportunity of understanding what life in this country has meant and could mean. And he said something about it's cutting oneself off from ways of being at home. And that's so beautiful because there is no verb to belong in Irish. We actually say ve sawalia, being at home. And when you think of so much of our humour and syntax and structure, like says she to me and says I to her, and not answering yes or no, like just saying, are you Mollie? I am. Do you live in Dublin? I do. These kind of things, like, or I'm only after talking to Niall, and your man says to me, it's all completely a direct translation.
You know,
so
my best. No, the funniest one is, it's yourself, isn't it? And I go, well, who else would you expect it to be? Because people do that to me all the time. They come over and think, it's yourself. And I go, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's very
true.
Irish.
There's a weird obsession with self as well. Like even saying like, and what's your own name? This kind of thing. Or like, put out your two hands there. This consciousness of the body and feeling. It's just so beautiful. There's so much to unearth there. The more I get into it, the more there is.
Okay, you're saying you can learn it in 5 minutes a day now.
Oh, absolutely.
Really? 5 minutes a day? Okay. So how long will it take me, Mollie, at 5 minutes a day?
I'm going to send you my course, okay, Niall?
Okay.
And we'll have this conversation. You could easily be conversational and fluent in less than a year.
Okay, I'll tell you what I can do. I shall take you up on that.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll send it to you right now.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm confident, yeah.
Okay. And within a year, you reckon I will be able to speak fluent Irish or just have a good understanding of Irish?
Okay, well, that's, a fair point. Fluency is kind of a myth. English is my first language. I studied English at Trinity. I have taught English for over 10 years. But am I completely fluent with every word in the dictionary? No one really is. But fluency what's better is community, confidence, and being conversational, being communicative, being understood. I think you would definitely have a C1 level, say. If we look at the Common European Framework of Languages, there is a system that works for teaching. It lays out things in a kind of logical manner. And Irish is such a consistent, satisfying language to learn. It's very patterned. It's like these things we didn't know at school, about gender in the language or long and short verbs. But yeah, there's a very engaging and effective way to learn it. And students say, even in the first few lessons of my courses, they're like, wow, I never knew this. This just makes so much sense.
But we had an argument. We had an argument on the air going back about 4 weeks ago. We were talking about Irish. And I said a car was glúistín, and somebody else said, no, it's called a car in Irish. And I said, no, it's a glúistín.
Yeah.
I said, no. And there was this. So then everybody started texting in, and it was 50-50. And I go, no, I'm sticking to my guns on this. A glúistín is a car. Because I had heard on the Newark one night them calling a car in Irish. And I'm going, but glúistín is a car. It always was when I was a kid. So is it a glúistín or a car?
Well, it's a great question because people think, glúistín sounds more Irish, because it comes from glúis, meaning movement. But actually, car comes from, car in English, comes from Old Irish car, C-A-R-R, from Proto-Celtic karos, K-A-R-R-O-S. So really, car is the older word. Oh. And glúistín is nearly not a made-up word, but car refers to a cart or a wagon. So it's an older vehicle.
And fuinneog see, here's the thing. When we're talking about Irish, I start to remember all the words like talamh, sneachta, all these words.
Yeah.
So, and I know what they all mean, etc., etc. Fuinneog for window, and all these I love the word fuinneog, by the way. It's just such a lovely word, isn't it? Fuinneog.
It is.
Yeah. I don't know what it actually means, but I know it's a window. I'm assuming it's something old. So what does fuinneog actually translate to?
I mean, there's Old Norse. There's a word, Vindauga, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like a composition of wind and eye.
Oh, okay.
Like a sort of eye that the wind enters through.
And then there was that other weird thing about a black man in Irish is far Gurum, because they couldn't say far dove because far dove is the devil, isn't it? As far as I know. So
exactly.
It's kind of this kind of weirdness in this political correctness that's hundreds of years old in the Irish language, rather than but just kind of bizarre. But anyway, so teach me a little bit of Irish. How, if I was to go about learning Irish right now, where do I start? Do I start with the verbs? Do I start with just words, learning words, or how do I start?
So I normally start with the features of the language, like these things that might get people kind of tapping into the structure. How does it work? So it's a verb-first language. And this structure is really good to know when you're starting so that you're kind of thinking in Irish more. So it's a bit like, says she to me, like ger, she, lum. So looking at things like verb first or long and short verbs, looking at the kind of colorfulness of the language, like when it's slender or broad, the ending, generally a feminine noun ends with a slender. But anyway, I go into things like just getting students to use the words. So even if you're Irish and you're kind of used to the sounds, you've got a massive head start, and it's just a case of undoing that kind of shame and just throwing out the old slán, when you're in the shop instead of goodbye, slán, which turned into so long. Or even tuair ara, take care, because of so many Irish immigrants to places like Manchester and Liverpool, turned into ta-ra. You hear on Coronation Street, ta-ra, Chuck.
Ta-ra, Chuck.
So I think that's a nice place to start with greetings, because they're ones that you can use every day. Things like Majin wa, good morning. Majin wa, like you said, Trinona ma, good afternoon. Or Iche wa. And there's loads of songs and things. I have a free mini course on my website, irishwithmollie.com, and there's things like the colours, the numbers, food, greetings.
I don't even think I can count to 10 anymore. I mean, this is really sad. See, you're bringing it all back to me now, and I don't even think I can Hendo 3 car Cuig She Shocked Ni De. Hooked Ni De. Yeah.
But it all does come back to you, and there's so much joy in learning a language, and especially with our ancestral language, it's proven that it fosters feelings of freedom and comfort, and also delays and reduces Alzheimer's and dementia, boosts your memory, concentration, self-esteem.
Yeah, it's good exercise for your brain.
To think in a different way, feelings being on us. Like, that's so unique.
Do you, by the way, when you're speaking Irish, and I'm assuming you speak some relatively fluent, as we refer to it as fluent Irish, right? And I remember one of the girls here who used to do our Irish show on a Sunday. Oh, her name is getting out of my head. Anyway, she spoke Irish beautifully, right? And I could listen to her for hours. But what I used to wonder was, is she thinking in Irish? Because she also spoke fluent English, obviously, as well. But so when you're speaking Irish to somebody else Irish and you're having a conversation, are you thinking in Irish?
Yeah, I think it depends on if I have been thinking or speaking or writing or teaching in Irish, because we speak Portuguese as well and English, and then it depends what I'm doing at the time. But yeah, I think Irish is kind of to the forefront of my brain for the last few years anyway, and I'm still so captivated by it, Yeah. But yeah, I think my reactions are starting to be in Irish rather than in English. And even my students say the same thing. They start like looking at things, even after 1 or 2 years of learning, or even less, and they're just thinking, that's what it is in Irish, or how do I,
would it be of any disadvantage to us as a country?
No.
If Irish became our first language?
No way. In fact, it opens your mind. It really gives you a new perspective, a new lens on reality. It's proven it's good for thinking outside the box, thinking in a more creative way. Like, you're able to really expand your vision on different things. It is so soothing. Like,
I would hate us to be snobby about our language. When you go to Paris, for example, right?
Yeah.
And you don't make any attempt to speak French, or you can't. They don't really take to you too well. If you make a small attempt, they will work with you and they'll speak English to you, because most people speak English. But they just, there's a bit of a snobbery about it. You know what I mean? And I'd hate us to be like that, where tourists come to this country or people come here to work and they know us as an English-speaking country, so they set up companies here and everything else. And I would hate us to be kind of snobby, where we're all speaking Irish and we're refusing to speak English to people.
But you know what I find, Niall? People are coming with way more passion and pride for our language than Irish people in Ireland. A lot of my students are from all over the world, and a lot of them living in Ireland or moving to Ireland, and just so, inspired by the language and the music and the culture, and they're all linked together. They're all fitcha fucha, interwoven. And they are really quick at learning because they're kind of shameless about it. They're very encouraging and supportive. Like, the community is incredible. And I don't think Irish people would ever be elitist about it. There is some stereotypes about Gaelgory, Irish speakers kind of speaking English back to you if you try to speak Irish with them. I think that's more maybe a defensiveness, or maybe a fear that, like, the new Irish is diluting Irishness. But that's more, maybe a trauma of having been invaded and oppressed for so long.
Yeah,
But
I think.
don't
By the way, I think
imagine-
my.
yeah.
I think my producer, sorry, because I'm kind of only got about 7 minutes and I'm conscious of that, but I think my producer Molly has kind of signed me up for a lesson here tonight. Or not Molly, sorry, AJ. I do apologise. I think AJ has signed me up for a lesson tonight. The reason I said Molly is because I'm looking at the screen. Your name is on the screen, Molly. So if I was to start off with lessons, now work with me here now, okay? So give me a few things here, little exercises that I should be doing. And I'm now remembering, of course, pronunciation is important, and I'm crap at it.
Yeah. So I do go through the whole alphabet and pronunciation. So I have full pronunciation guides. It takes some getting used to, with the sounds. I have newsletters where I read them so you can listen along. But going through simple things first, just building your confidence with things like, numbers and colours and greetings, and then kind of going back to basics with like describing a person, describing a place, breaking down the sounds and why they make sense. And really I like to go into the etymology of words, like we were talking about, Fwyniog and Ruddy Marshin, things like that, because it's more memorable and playful. But I think starting any language, it's good to get an overview of a bit of the history of the language, the mythology, the structure, and kind of what does it mean? Why is it so precious? Language loss is devastating. But I think, to start off with, kind of having a look at the difference between, the main verb, the be verb in Irish, one of the 11 irregular verbs. There's only 11. English has 220. Other languages have 600. So, for example, tá is the positive in the be verb, like tá me, I am.
Yeah.
And maybe you can do your affirmations every morning. Tá me cliste, I'm clever. Tá me gahinta, I'm great.
Tá me cliste, tá me gahinta.
Yeah, tá me cliste, I know, very good.
Yeah.
And using what you have, starting where you are, but the courses are really organised and structured to kind of lead you in and grab your attention, making it entertaining, making it engaging and effective, and building on what you know from the ground up. So really starting with the basics and the facts of the language, like there is no indefinite article. There's no word for for example.
Yeah.
So
in other words, you really
like,
you can't translate directly from English to Irish. You can't, because some of the words just don't translate.
From Hiberno English.
Yeah.
From Hiberno English, you basically can. If you're saying like, I'm after seeing Niall, Tom Thuréis Niall Echo. It's kind of word for word.
By the way, I'm delighted,
really
by the
helps.
way, can I just say something? I'm delighted you didn't try to translate my name into Irish, because that was a bone of contention. When I was in school and they used to call me Niall Boylan, right? I used to argue with the teachers, my name is not Neil, it's Niall. Stop trying to translate it. They're two separate names. They're two completely different names. Stop trying to translate me into Irish. It's Niall. So you didn't translate it. So there are words that just don't translate, and you just use the English version, I suppose.
Yeah. And I think, it's lovely to hear Gaelgory chatting away and they just throw in whatever English word they want. That's another thing. Don't be so precious about it. I mean, people think, oh, how long will it take me to get to fluency or to get to this? It's like bit by bit, learning what you can, that eudaimonic happiness, like that growth and fulfillment of just using what you have and saying, okay, this week I'm going to learn the days of the week, or I'm going to learn the seasons.
I don't even know the days of the week. This is terrible. What's Monday again?
Luan.
Yeah.
J Luan, the day of Monday. J March. J Cadine. Geraldine. J Hina is Friday.
Hina.
J Saturn.
Yeah, I can't
Saturday.
remember.
J Downig.
Downig. I knew Downig was one of them, and I couldn't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
But you see, that all comes back to me. I remember all this from school. I can
It
almost see
will.
myself sitting in the classroom there with Mr. Conway up the front telling me what to say.
But I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Taking it out of the classroom and writing in your messages, gra more, like big love. Gra is love, gra for Gaeilge. More is big. And just using that, like in your emails, you could say berbua, meaning grab victory.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so epic, the language. And it's so full of heart. If you're greeting someone, you could say ahara, like dear friend, ahara. And Cara is friend, so we're adding a shevu because we're addressing them, ahara. And things like that can really bring it back into your life, and try it out for like a week. Just saying simple things like Gurav Mahagat, thank you. Gurav Mahagat actually translates to may you have goodness.
Right.
And it's so tender, it's so full of love and kindness. And I think it really connects people.
And the same when we say goodbye and we say Slán Abhaile, You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's safe home, or you know what I mean, whatever it is.
Exactly.
I mean, it is a nice language. There's a lot of niceties in it, isn't there?
There is. I think people generally feel like better people when they're speaking Irish. Like, it just feels so calm, and like, I do anyway. And I think a lot of my students feel like it's relieving anxiety for them.
I'm hearing Hollywood stars even saying sláinte now, which is a kind of big thing, I believe, in Hollywood at the moment.
Beautiful.
I mean, okay, so if people want to learn more, they can go to your website, and it's Irish with Mollie. Is it .ie or .com?
.com.
.com.
Yeah.
Irishwithmollie.com. It's absolutely amazing, Mollie. I really wish I could learn Irish.
You can.
I know. Sorry,
You know what, Niall?
I'm going to be confident about it.
The wishing, everyone says, I wish I could, but you can. So it's few agus is féidir. It's worth it, and you can do it, and you're going to change that wish to will. I will do it.
Yeah. And you're saying 5 minutes. You're saying 5 minutes. 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes. Because I between podcasts and radio shows and interviews, and I swear, I literally don't have, and that's my biggest problem is time management, right? So I have 5 minutes, and I would love if I thought 5 minutes a day would do it, I'll do it.
Anawa. Well, I'll send it on to you now, and we'll get cracking.
Yeah. AJ is going to pass it on to me. I get AJ to do a little test with me every week, maybe on the air.
Yeah, brilliant. That's the way. Have accountability partner in it. Yeah.
I was only saying earlier on, there was a time to be a broadcaster in Ireland, you had to have fluent Irish. That doesn't exist anymore. The same when you get into civil service at one stage.
Yeah, I mean, how recently all of Ireland was Gaeltacht, and how much the Irish language has gone through, and yet it's still here. It's actually bio, she's alive. And really coming back. I really feel something's happening, yeah.
Well, listen, it's been wonderful listening to you, because I just love the way you speak the language. You speak it with such passion, and you have such passion for the language. And I hope everybody who goes to your website gets that same passion. I think they will. And it's irishwithmollie.com. Or if you want to follow her on Instagram, she's got 180,000 followers, by the way. Well done. How'd you get that many followers?
You're Míle Maithagad. Thanks a million.
How did you get 180,000 people following you? By the way, on Instagram, is it Irish with Mollie as well?
It is. Irish with Mollie, yeah.
Okay. Listen, Mollie, thank you very much indeed. And I appreciate you coming on the show.
Take care. Good, Ada.
All right.
Slán
on you. Bye. There you go. I'm looking forward to learning my bit of Ascailga. My Gaelga. Well, it's not Ascailga, it'll be just Gaelga. And thanks to Mollie Guidera. Irishwithmollie.com is the website you can go to. Or if you want to go to Instagram, she puts up loads of stuff there, by the way. Irish with Mollie is her Instagram account as well. And I have to say, if you were ever going to learn Irish, I think she's the girl to do it. Because I just love her passion and her excitement for the language and her knowledge of the language. And it's the way she speaks it. I'd love to. AJ, do you speak Irish? No. See? I can't even get a producer that speaks Irish. I don't think any of my... actually, Mike did. Going back, one of my very first producers, Mike Hogan, because his wife was actually a school principal. So she spoke fluent Irish from the Gaeltacht, from Connemara, and Mike learned Irish through her. So, well, he was trying his best anyway, to learn Irish through her. So, but not that we used it very much, mind you. Anyway, listen, thank you very much indeed for everybody to get involved in the show tonight. Thank you to Zoe, and thank you to AJ as well. And I shall talk to you again tomorrow night at 9 o'clock.
Now, real people, real opinions. Nighttime Talk with Niall Boylan.
Ireland's classic hits radio.